Let me tell you a story. Time travel movies. I love them, but they're broken. In them, either the world changes and the character stays the same, or the world resets and the character changes, remembering. But that's not how time travel works. To explain what I'm talking about, I came up with a story called Minuteman. In it, we meet Cayman, a soldier at a Minuteman missile site. Now, he can't do his job anymore. He was fine when he didn't think anyone would ever actually launch the nukes, but the way things have been going lately. But he can't just quit, he's gotta eat, so he's trying to be pragmatic and hedge his bets. He's trying to get transferred. His commander says no. He's too valuable, it takes too long to train his replacement, they couldn't possibly accept. They have a new bit of technology they need to test. It's dangerous, but if it works, it could prevent the possibility of nuclear war. Volunteer to test it, and they'll transfer him anywhere he wants. Okay, so there he is, sitting in his chair at his console, and there's a new button. A big red button. It seems the government have built themselves a Goodell-Hilbert space generator. Wanna break your brain? Look that up. Basically, it makes tiny black holes and spins them around really fast. And the thing about black holes is they're very heavy, and heavy things bend the whole space-time thing. And if you spin them around really fast, they drag space-time with them all the way around until it touches itself, giving you time travel. Very limited time travel, but time travel nonetheless. But he won't be time traveling today because the amount of energy it takes to work the machine is, well, a nuclear explosion. They're just testing the wiring because this is so bleeding edge, they want to make sure when they flick the switch it doesn't explode. You can see why they want this technology though, can't you? I mean, if the silo is ever hit with a surprise nuclear strike and it kills the operator, well, that turns on the machine, and then the operator goes back 1 minute in time, and he launches a counter strike. So, after this, if you launch nuclear weapons, well, that's suicide. That's the machine. Everyone gets to a minimum safe distance, leaving Cayman to nervously ponder his life choices. And then he presses the button. Bet you can guess what happens. Except you're wrong. A nuclear bomb does not go off. Because this is where we see what time travel really is. Instead, the room is suddenly full of Caymans. They're everywhere, and I mean everywhere, to the point of overlapping like a multi-exposure photograph. The one standing over him stabs him in the chest. He can see the knife sticking out, except it also isn't. And a version of him peels off like an onion skin and falls to the floor dead, much to the irritation of the stabby version, who tries again. Cayman fights his way out of the chair. Now all the versions in the room are fighting each other, and the floor is just a pile of bodies. He runs through the ghost-like versions of himself for the door. And that's when he realizes he's the brightest, most solid version of himself in the room, the most there. He focuses only on the other versions that are about as solid as he is. The ghost versions, he just lets them attack. He gets to the surface, and oh god, he's everywhere. You can't see through the fog of Caymans, and on the horizon is a terrible storm. He's in the eye of it, as reality itself is ripped around the compound. And as the most solid version of Cayman he's ever seen reaches for him, now the nuke goes off. But the world doesn't reset with him back in his chair. And he's still standing where he was standing at the end of the minute. It's everything else that's moved to how it was at the beginning of the minute. And standing next to him, waiting for him, is a much older version of Cayman. Think of him as a Doc Brown version of Cayman. Yes, you're trapped here. Yes, you're at war. Yes, it's with yourself. Yes, you set off the nuke. 'Cause yes, you go crazy. Sometimes. Now we see what Cayman's really up against, and Doc is our guide. Now the problem may seem simple enough. Time travel only happens because the nuke went off, so don't set off the nuke. But it's not that simple. Because of paradox. The problem every time travel film has to deal with. But we don't gloss over it. We dive into it. In fact, Doc and the other Caimans use paradox to survive. We learn how they have enough food to eat. You start with an apple. Now, if you eat the apple, you don't have apples anymore, so you don't do that. Instead, you take the apple and you put it down on a table. Then you wait a minute. Then you pick it up. And you wait. Then you put it down again. And you wait. And you pick it up. And you wait. And you put it down again. And you wait. And you pick it up. And now you eat it. Does that mean you don't have apples anymore? No. You have two. The ones you didn't eat. This is a functional paradox. It both breaks and preserves causality. All the versions of all the things you might have done existing in the same space at the same time. This is how time travel really works, and this is the real problem. Because imagine you decide to stop putting down apples. You're just going to eat them. How many apples would you have to eat before you were out of apples? Well, that's easy. 2. The 2 you put down. Except you can see another version of yourself still putting down apples. And all the future versions of that version putting down apples, which means some future version of you must have changed his mind and decided to put down apples. Maybe you got hungry. So it's not enough that you decided to stop. You also have to stop all the future versions of yourself and all the possible versions of yourself from putting down apples. And it's worse than you think. Most of the crazy versions of Cayman are future versions of Cayman, which means that they've done it all, tried it all, thought of it all. They have a decided advantage. Cayman is late to the party. And that's just the start of his problems. Any noise he makes, it's there forever, on repeat. And good luck sleeping when a nuke goes off every minute. And then there's the suicides. Oh yeah, he definitely tries that. There's this version of him that slashes his own throat, but also he hesitates like just a little bit, and then he does it. But another version hesitates just a little bit longer. So he's just standing there, slashing his own throat over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, while versions of him peel off and make a pile of bodies at his feet for a minute straight. And then there's the bombs. Not bomb, bombs. It's not just apples you can infinitely replicate. So there's a lot of nukes set to go off. And it's not like Cayman's a bomb disposal soldier, he's a soldier. Actually, here the functional paradox works in his favor. Want to know how to disarm a bomb? Just watch your future self do it. Then do what he did. And if you screw it up, you'll see yourself screw it up before you screw it up, so don't do whatever that version did. Doc argues that there's still hope because it's a numbers game. He's had a long time to think about it, and he's been teaching himself about quantum mechanics, superposition, and Schrodinger's cat, where something can be both alive and dead until you check it. He's counting on the fact that the universe is not going to stop forever for this. Eventually, it's going to self-correct, and a bomb either will or will not have gone off. The trick is to get the majority of Caymans to agree to not set off the nuke, then statistically that'll be what happened. So Cayman has to decide, how does he want this to end? You're probably wondering how they're having these conversations. I mean, they're talking, whispering, for more than a minute. So, well, just like the apple, the nuke, and everything else, if you hold on to the person you're talking to, they come with you into the new minute. You can finish your conversation. It's another advantage of the functional paradox. But so what? I mean, future versions have had all these conversations, thought of all this, and they're still here. It's not helping. We see Cayman try everything, and he watches himself try everything else. Take apart the time machine? Well, there's always a version that didn't. Take apart the nuke? Same. Go to the very edge of the hurricane. But the force of reality bending is too hard to traverse, and any Cayman that tries is ripped apart horribly in spaghettification. He even tries going to the first moment when he's sitting in the chair to get himself before he presses the button. But of course, we've already passed that moment. It can't be undone. Eventually, he's been here long enough to see younger versions of himself. And more, he finds himself talking to the crazy versions, not fighting them. Ostensibly because he's trying to convince them they're wrong, but actually because they're sounding right. They agree it's a numbers game, sure, but you have to get to 100%. And the only way to guarantee that no one sets off the nuke is to kill everyone. Ironically, setting off the nuke prevents the nuke from being set off. Functional paradox. So you have to choose. Are you going to end this or keep fighting pointlessly? It's during one of these bad conversations that he finally figures it out. The thing everyone's doing, but no one's actually tried. Some of you are ahead of me on this. Crazy Cayman's yammering on about his final solution. Cayman tries to get out of the conversation, but the crazy version grabs him, forcing him to start a new minute and continue the conversation. And there it is. When you grab someone, you sync up timelines. Create a shared reality, no longer possible, certain, at least for that next minute. So what happens if you grab 2 people, 5, 10, 50? Pretty soon, Cayman's got mobs of Caymans, all holding hands and smiling like idiots, because this is the answer. If he can get everyone on the same timeline, then whatever happens, happens. He's with a group of 50 Caymans when the nuke goes off, and the Cayman he's holding on to is ripped from his hand, and his hand gets burned. Not badly, just surprising, like touching a hot stove, but the 50 still holding hands are a cloud of ash. Because the crazies have figured it out too. They're making the nuke real. He goes to Doc for help, support, advice. I don't know what you're worried about, says Doc. You have actually solved the problem. You found a way to 100%. And he grabs him. Suddenly, Cayman is swarmed by Caymans. It's a trap. Doc is just as crazy as the rest, and now he's gonna kill Cayman. All the Caymans, so this can end. Surrounded and overwhelmed with the seconds counting down, Cayman struggles to break free, but there's too many of them. He screams out, "No!" And the nuke goes off. And then they're back. Because of course they are. All that did was sync up the timelines. Now they're on a shared reality. The realization sweeps through the mob. Whatever happens now will be what happened. As you can imagine, it's a bloodbath. They rip each other apart, each version fighting the other. Only now when you're dead, you stay dead. Cayman quickly finds himself being buried alive in the bodies. He struggles to get out of the corpse pile like he's climbing out of hell. But every time he breaks the surface, more bodies pile up. He finds himself in the darkness, staring into the dead face of a crazy Cayman. And as he loses consciousness, we hear, "Looks like you made your choice." He claws his way out with new determination. He's not going to give up. He's not going to let himself be buried in death and doubt. And as he claws his way out, he notices it's more like swimming than climbing. He breaks through to the top of the pile, and there's Doc, waiting for him, bloodied, holding a knife. There's still a few Caymans fighting, but mostly it's a sea of the dead. Doc descends on him, about to make him just another body in the pile. Whose timeline is this? And Doc hesitates, realizing he doesn't know. Look at the horizon, says Cayman. Doc looks. The hurricane's gone. He drops his knife and staggers backwards. But what if one of us... No. You have it backwards, says Cayman. It doesn't take one of us to keep us here. It just takes one of us to leave. And that's the solution. It's the same solution as the beginning, really. It's just how you look at it. See, the problem wasn't the nuke going off. The problem was the possibility of the nuke going off. So you've just got to make it impossible. But they were never doing that. Every other version let it be possible. They were wrong. Even in dying, they knew there was a version that didn't. You have to commit. You have to decide. You have to choose. Collapse the waveform, like Schrodinger's cat opening the box from the inside. You decide your fate. Then why am I still here? Says Doc. You're not, says Cayman, and all the versions turn to him. I'm the only one here. And he walks right through Doc like he's a ghost. And as he descends the pile of the dead, they all flow into him like smoke until there's no one left, no one but Cayman. Ironically, this is how every time travel movie ends. Eventually, the hero finds an outcome they like, and they stop time traveling. The restoration of causality and the linear flow of time. And this is how you fix time travel movies. You stop avoiding the paradox. You embrace it, because the story is in the paradox. Thank you for listening.